great hall of the Galactic Council was full of light, sound, and arrogance. Hundreds of alien voices mixed together, echoing across the tall chamber. The Council was the center of power in the galaxy, and every race believed they were safe under its rule. But among them stood a small group. They were human delegates, their dark uniforms simple compared to the golden robes and jeweled armor of the alien lords. They were not loud. They were not proud. They only watched. The aliens whispered to each other whenever they saw the humans. "The new ones," said a scaled creature with bright green eyes. "Still young, still weak," answered another with a voice like breaking glass. They laughed. Everyone laughed. For the aliens, humans were nothing special. They did not have teleportation technology like the Council's great fleets. They did not command the energy storms of distant suns. They did not rule empires that stretched across 1,000 worlds. Humans had only one thing: railguns. Old weapons, primitive weapons. To the aliens, it was like using a stone spear in the age of laser swords. Yet the humans did not argue. They did not defend themselves. They simply stood silent, taking the insults, recording every word. Their calmness was strange, almost unnatural. One alien lord slammed his staff on the ground. "Let it be known," he declared, "that the humans may sit here, but they are children among giants." Railguns, ha! When one can teleport an entire fleet across a system, what use is a simple slug of metal? The chamber filled with mocking laughter. But at the back of the hall, a human officer narrowed his eyes. His name was Captain Rains, though few of the aliens cared enough to learn it. He leaned close to the human ambassador and whispered so softly no one else could hear. "They think teleporters make them gods. They don't see what's coming." The ambassador gave the smallest of smiles. "Good, let them laugh." Weeks passed. The Council continued to boast of their strength. Their teleporters were paraded in every speech. They told stories of how enemy fleets were destroyed before they could even move. They told stories of how no one could resist them. The humans listened, always silent, always patient, but silence can be dangerous. Silence can be the warning of a storm. On one night, as the Council chamber dimmed for rest, a small group of alien officers gathered near the humans. One of them, tall and covered in silver armor, smirked. "Why so quiet, humans? Are you afraid to speak in the presence of true power?" The human ambassador only looked at him. His eyes were calm, steady, almost cold. He replied with one line, "Glory never lasts forever." The alien laughed and walked away. He did not know that those words were more than pride. They were a warning. Far from the Council's world, deep in human-controlled space, fleets were being built. Not teleporters, not shining toys of energy. Instead, thousands of massive ships, each carrying railguns larger than mountains, waited in silence. Every bolt, every slug, every weapon had been tested again and again. The humans had spent decades perfecting their old technology. They had turned primitive weapons into something the galaxy had never seen, but no one in the Council knew. No alien spy understood the scale of what was hidden. The humans had mastered not speed, not teleportation, but precision and power, and they waited. In the Council hall, the speeches continued. Aliens laughed at human weakness. They mocked railguns again and again. "One day," said the silver-armored alien, "you humans will be useful. You can fight on the front lines while we teleport to victory." The humans only bowed their heads. They gave no protest. But Captain Rain, sitting in the shadows, thought to himself, "Front lines. Yes, we will be there, but not as servants, not as pawns. When the storm begins, they will know the meaning of fire." The tension grew thicker every day. No open fight had started, but something was in the air. Some of the younger alien officers even began to feel uneasy. Why did the humans never argue back? Why did they never defend their honor? One alien whispered, "Maybe they are planning something." Another laughed, "Planning with railguns? Impossible." Yet the whisper did not die. It spread like smoke. The humans kept watching. They kept waiting. Their patience was the silence before thunder, the calm before lightning. And so, in the heart of the Council's proud chamber, surrounded by laughter and arrogance, humanity waited for the storm to break. They knew one truth. The first shock was coming. The Council chamber was alive again. Golden lights shone across the walls, and alien voices filled the air with pride. The council spoke of their victories, their power, and their glory. To them, teleportation was the crown of civilization. It was proof of their superiority. With teleporters, they could send fleets across star systems in moments. They could appear above enemy worlds without warning. They believed no one could resist them. Day after day, they repeated the same story. The council is eternal. Our power cannot be broken. The aliens loved to hear themselves speak. Every battle, every conquest was told as if it were a grand legend. On massive hollow screens, they showed fleets vanishing and reappearing in sudden bursts of light. They showed planets surrendering without even a fight. To the council, teleporters were the ultimate weapon. To them, the future itself belonged to those who could bend space, and to them, humans were nothing. Humans were given the lowest seats in the chamber. Their voices were ignored in debates. When they tried to speak, alien leaders silenced them. Not now, one alien lord said with a wave of his claw. You are too young to understand the affairs of the council, another sneered. Railguns, you may keep your toys. True power is not in metal. True power is in bending reality itself. The humans did not respond. They sat still, their faces calm, their hands folded. They did not argue, did not fight, did not show anger. The silence of humans was the council's favorite entertainment. The aliens laughed at it, mocking their quietness as weakness. Behind closed doors, the arrogance was even greater. In secret meetings, the alien rulers planned how to use humans as pawns. They are expendable, said a thick-bodied alien with glowing red eyes. If war comes, we will place them on the front lines. Their losses will mean nothing, another alien hissed with amusement. Yes, let them fire their little railguns. They will distract the enemy long enough for our teleporters to strike. The room erupted in laughter. To them, humans were nothing but shields, tools, a disposable race. But in the corner of that same room stood a human aide, silent, holding a data pad. He lowered his eyes as if he had not heard anything. Yet every word was recorded. Every plan was remembered. The arrogance of the council was not just in their words. It was in their actions. They controlled trade routes, taxing smaller races into poverty. They controlled science, keeping dangerous knowledge locked away. They controlled fleets, using them to crush rebellions before they could even begin. And above all, they controlled the idea of fear. To challenge the council was to challenge the gods of the galaxy. At least, that was what they believed. One evening, during a grand gathering, the aliens once again mocked the humans. Tell us, little Earthborns, said a tall alien with silver skin. How does it feel to sit in the Council of Masters while holding weapons from the Stone Age? The chamber burst into laughter, but this time the human ambassador stood slowly. His face was calm, his voice low. It feels, he said, like watching a great tower built on sand. The laughter stopped for a moment. The aliens looked at each other, confused. Then, as always, they dismissed the words and laughed again. Sand? Ha! You will learn that the council stands on rock unshakable, shouted one. But the ambassador only sat back down. His eyes gave nothing away. What the aliens did not see was the growing unease among their younger officers. Some of them had started to wonder, why do the humans never fight back? Why do they accept the insults so easily? Whispers moved like shadows through the halls. Maybe the humans are planning something, one alien cadet said quietly. Another shook his head. Impossible. They are weak. They have nothing. But still, the whisper did not die. Meanwhile, across human-controlled space, fleets continued to grow. Hidden from alien eyes, weapons of terrifying power were being prepared. Every insult, every mockery from the council only fueled their quiet determination. Back in the council chamber, the arrogance continued. Alien leaders celebrated their victories and spoke of future wars. Soon, one declared, another rebellion will rise. We shall teleport our fleets above their capitals and burn them to ash. No one can resist us. The chamber roared with approval, and in that noise, in that storm of pride and arrogance, the humans sat in silence. Their stillness was not weakness. It was patience. Their silence was not surrender. It was the shadow of something greater. The aliens could not see it. The council would not believe it. But the truth was already written. The arrogance of the council would be their downfall. And the humans, they were waiting. The galaxy burned with tension. Whispers of war spread from one system to another. The council, arrogant and proud, believed they were untouchable. They trusted their teleporters, their shining fleets, their ancient power. But war does not wait for pride. War comes like fire in dry grass. It began with a rebellion on the edge of council space. A small alien race long crushed under taxes and control rose in defiance. Their fleets were small, their weapons outdated, but their will was strong. The council laughed at the rebellion. "Teleport the fleets," ordered the silver-skinned lord. "End this before it begins." And so the mighty council fleets vanished in a burst of light, only to appear above the rebel world. The rebels fired desperately, but they were no match. In minutes, their defenses were gone. The council declared victory, but that was not the true war. That was only the spark. The council soon demanded humans to join. "Earthborns," said a lizard-like general, "you will lead your railgun ships into battle. You will be our shield. Do not fail." Humans bowed their heads. They gave no argument. Their silence, once again, was mistaken for obedience. When the council fleets moved to strike another rebellion, the humans moved with them. The alien commanders laughed as human ships spread across the front lines. "Let them fire their primitive slugs. They will die first, and we will teleport to victory." But this time, something was different. The battle began in silence. The enemy fleet appeared from hyperspace, ready to resist. The council prepared to teleport their main fleet behind enemy lines, and then the humans fired. The first railgun shot was like thunder in space. A massive slug of metal, accelerated to incredible speed, cut through the void. In less than a second, it tore into an enemy cruiser, ripping it apart like paper. The aliens paused, confused. One ship destroyed, a lucky shot perhaps. Then the second railgun fired. Then the third, the void lit up with streaks of destruction. Slugs moved faster than sensors could track, faster than teleport calculations could adjust. Enemy ships exploded one after another. The council's alien commanders stared in shock. How are they so accurate? One whispered. "Their weapons. They should not be this strong," cried another. But the humans did not answer. They only fired again. The enemy fleet tried to use teleporters to escape. They vanished in bursts of light, only to reappear in the path of more railgun fire. Their ships were torn apart before their weapons could charge. It was merciless. It was unstoppable, and for the first time in centuries, the council's pride began to crack. One alien general screamed, "This is impossible. Teleporters cannot be defeated." But railguns did not care about pride. Railguns did not care about ancient glory. They only destroyed. In the council chamber far away, leaders watched the battle on giant hollow screens. Their jaws dropped as they saw their enemy burn. Not by teleporters, but by human weapons. "This cannot be," whispered the silver-skinned lord. "Railguns are primitive." Yet the truth was clear. Primitive weapons had been turned into perfect weapons. Humanity had not chased teleportation. Humanity had not copied the council. Instead, they had mastered what they already had. They had built ships designed for nothing but precision and devastating force. And now, the galaxy was learning the truth. The council fleets, once so proud, broke apart in panic. Their teleporters could not keep up. Their commanders screamed orders, but nothing worked. Meanwhile, the human fleet moved in silence. No shouts, no celebration. Only the calm rhythm of railguns firing, one after another, crushing everything in their path. Captain Rains stood at the command deck of the flagship. His voice was steady, cold. "Fire again." The screens flashed as another enemy ship split in half. Target acquired. "Fire again." Another explosion lit the void. The silence of humans was no longer weakness. It was the silence of a blade being drawn. When the battle ended, the council fleets were gone. Only wreckage floated in the void. The humans had lost almost nothing. Their ships remained, their crews calm, their guns still loaded. In the chamber of the council, silence replaced arrogance. The alien leaders stared at the holofeed in disbelief. This was not supposed to happen. But it had. The first shock had come. And it came not from teleporters, not from alien fleets, not from the proud council. It came from humanity. The council had ruled for centuries. Their fleets had crushed rebellions, their teleporters had kept them untouchable, and their arrogance had made them blind. Now, for the first time, fear spread inside their golden chamber. The leaders sat in silence, watching the recordings of the last battle. Human ships stood strong, calm, untouched. Railguns had destroyed fleets that were supposed to be invincible. The silver-skinned lord slammed his hand on the table. "This was a trick, a trap! Humans cannot defeat us with old weapons." But his voice shook. He no longer believed his own words. In the following weeks, the galaxy changed. Rebellions that had once been crushed quickly rose again. They saw the weakness of the council. They saw the strength of humans, and they no longer feared. The council ordered new fleets to move, but their fleets hesitated. Soldiers whispered, "If the humans can destroy them, what chance do we have?" Morale broke like glass. Human fleets began their own campaigns. Quietly, steadily, they moved from system to system. At first, they only defended rebellions. They destroyed enemy ships with railgun fire, fast and merciless. The council believed it was temporary, that humans could not fight a long war. But humans kept winning. Every battle ended the same way. Alien fleets broken, human ships untouched. The teleporters. Once the pride of the council failed again and again. Humans jammed their signals, blocked their calculations, forced them into predictable traps. Teleporters became a weakness. Railguns turned them into death sentences. Inside the council chamber, panic grew. "How can this be?" cried one lord with glowing red eyes. "We are the council. We are the masters of the galaxy." But another whispered, "Not anymore. They have taken that from us." Voices rose in anger and fear. The once proud chamber became a room of shouting, of desperate plans, of hopeless orders. The human ambassador sat quietly, watching them. When the room finally fell silent, he spoke. "For centuries you believed you were gods. For centuries you ruled with arrogance. But power is not eternal. Glory does not last forever. You forgot one truth." The aliens stared at him, trembling. "What truth?" one demanded. The ambassador's eyes were cold. "That humans never stop preparing. In the outer systems, alien empires collapsed. Planets once loyal to the council turned to humanity for protection. Merchants, soldiers, and civilians alike began to see humans not as the weak newcomers, but as the new power. Alien lords who had mocked railguns now begged for peace. But there was no peace. Human fleets moved like storms, breaking everything in their path, not out of cruelty but with purpose. The old order had to fall. The council's age had to end. In one final desperate attempt, the council gathered their greatest fleet. Hundreds of ships armed with teleporters and ancient weapons prepared for war. "This is our last chance," said the silver-skinned lord. "We must show the galaxy that the council still rules." They launched their fleet into the stars. The humans were waiting. The battle began with light, with noise, with chaos. Teleporters flashed across the void, ships appearing and disappearing in bursts of energy. The council fought with all their pride, all their fury, but the railguns fired. One shot after another, they cut through the void. Alien ships exploded like fragile glass. Teleporters failed, jammed, destroyed before they could even complete their jumps. The great fleet of the council, the pride of the galaxy, fell apart in hours. Inside the command deck of the human flagship, Captain Rain stood with his crew. His voice was calm, steady, cold. Target locked. Fire. Another council battleship vanished in a burst of flame. Next target. Fire again. The railguns kept singing their deadly song. By the time the battle ended, the stars were filled with wreckage. The council's fleet no longer existed. Back in the council chamber, silence reigned. The leaders sat pale and trembling. Screens showed the last images of their fleets breaking apart. Their voices were gone. Their pride was gone. Their power was gone. The human ambassador rose from his seat. His words were simple, his tone unshaken. "Your age of glory is over." He turned and walked out. The chamber echoed with silence, a silence heavier than any insult, heavier than any laughter. The council had fallen, and humanity had risen. The stars were quiet. Where once fleets of the council had ruled, now only wreckage floated in the void. The war was over. The council's arrogance was gone, their fleets destroyed, their glory shattered. Across the galaxy, whispers spread. On every world, in every port, in every hidden base, one truth was spoken. The council has fallen. The humans have won. In the ruins of the Golden Chamber, the alien lords sat broken. Their robes no longer glittered. Their eyes no longer burned with pride. They had lost everything. The human ambassador stood before them, calm and silent. Behind him, hollow screens showed images of human fleets standing victorious, railguns still glowing with power. "Your rule is finished," he said quietly. "You will no longer command the galaxy. From this day forward, you will answer to us." The aliens lowered their heads. Some trembled, some wept. None resisted. The council's glory was gone forever, but humanity did not celebrate with loudness or arrogance. Their victory was not the end. It was only the beginning. In the halls of Earth's new command, leaders gathered to decide the future. Generals, admirals, ambassadors, and scientists stood side by side. Captain Rains, the man who had commanded the first great victories, spoke with the same calm voice as always. "We did not fight to replace one tyrant with another. We fought because the galaxy needs balance. We fought because no empire should rule with arrogance." The room was silent, listening. "But make no mistake," he continued. "Humanity is ready. We are ready to protect. We are ready to lead. We are ready to rise." Across the galaxy, alien races who had once feared the council now turned to humanity for guidance. Merchants opened trade routes with human colonies. Scientists shared knowledge that the council had locked away for centuries. Rebels once hunted now found protection under human fleets. Slowly, order returned. Not the order of fear, but of respect, and at the center of it all stood humanity. The race once mocked, once insulted, once ignored. Still, not everyone trusted them. Some whispered, "Will the humans become arrogant too? Will they become like the council?" The question hung in the air, like a shadow behind the victory. But the humans answered with action. Instead of ruling through terror, they ruled with discipline. Instead of mocking others, they gave them voices in the new alliance. Instead of hiding knowledge, they shared it. Humanity's strength was not only in railguns. It was in patience. It was in preparation. It was in never underestimating the power of silence. One evening, as the new alliance gathered for its first council meeting, the halls looked very different from the old Golden Chamber. The walls were simple, the seats equal. Every race was allowed to speak, and at the center the humans sat, not above the others but among them. The alien delegates looked at each other. For the first time in centuries, they did not feel fear in the chamber. They felt something else. Hope. But outside, among the stars, humanity never forgot the truth of war. Their fleets remained sharp, their weapons ready. Railguns stood like guardians, their barrels pointed at the void. For though they had risen, they knew peace was fragile. Somewhere, someday, another enemy would come. And when that day arrived, humanity would be ready. Captain Rains stood aboard his flagship, looking out at the stars. His crew was silent, their eyes steady, their weapons prepared. He whispered to himself, almost like a vow. Railguns came first. Teleporters came later. But the shock was ours to give. The words echoed across the deck, across the fleet, across the galaxy itself. The council was gone. The age of humans had begun.